So about Microsoft PowerPoint, it is used for presentations mainly. Yes. So what are presentations? They are a way to present ideas or to simplify or to better represent your ideas to the public or to a specific audience. For example, students, teachers, or for example, to summarize the idea or the ideas used in your projects, that sort of thing. So we use presentations, and Microsoft's tool to make presentations is called Microsoft PowerPoint. Okay, so same thing with Microsoft Word and Excel. We can, let me first share my screen. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so to access Microsoft PowerPoint, we simply search for it in the Windows Explorer menu, for example, like we search for Word, for example, we search for PowerPoint and click on Enter. This is the Microsoft PowerPoint welcome screen. We can also enter PowerPoint by simply by double clicking on the shortcut on the desktop. Okay, so same with Microsoft Word and Excel. Here we have the welcome screen. They are similar. Here we have the recently opened presentations. Here we have the home tab. We can choose from a variety of templates to make a presentation. Okay, so let's, for example, make a new presentation, and we can, before that, we can open presentations in on our PC. For example, we can browse, locate presentations. For example, let's, here we have one on Microsoft PowerPoint. It's the, or let's, for example, make a new one. We can choose one of these templates. For example, let's choose Berlin. Okay, here we have the first slide. The pages on a Microsoft PowerPoint is called are called slides. Okay, so here we have a preview of all the slides in our presentation. We can make a new slide. For example, here we have a preview. We can select by clicking on them, or simply by using the keyboard arrows to switch between them. Here we have the title slide, for example. And here, for example, if it was a presentation, you write the title here, and then your name or the names of your group, if it's a group project. And in the second slide, we can, for example, make a plan, like so. And then we have many options. For example, we can add pictures from here, smart art, 3D models, or we can simply uh, use the tabs like Microsoft Word and Excel to do so. Okay, for example, let's choose this slide, and let's for example go and insert a picture here. For example, let's insert this picture. Now we can reposition the picture like in Microsoft Word and Excel. Same thing. Okay? And we can also use shapes. For example, we can insert shapes. We can even with Microsoft Word. Okay? Notice here we have the option to group, and we have the option to undo that as well. Okay? So many options are shared between the programs, the different programs of Microsoft Office. Okay, so first thing we have to start with when planning for a presentation is the plan. For example, we start with an introduction. And then, for example, let's do definition, for example. And then let's go with demonstration. Then conclusion, for example. Okay, so what we notice about this, for example, let's add a name. For example, so this is the presentation when we are making it. Okay, but if we, for example, want to want to view the presentation as it is being presented, we just click on F5 on the keyboard and it goes full screen. Okay, now when it goes full screen, notice here we have the first slide and then the second slide. But in order for us to better, for example, explain the process or to go along step by step in our presentation, we, for example, we can use something unique to Microsoft PowerPoint, which is animation. Notice here it has its own tab. Okay, now animations can be used on any component within a slide. So this is an entire slide. Now the animations are applied on components within a slide. Okay, so this is a text box. This is considered a component. So once I select the desired component, in this case the this text box which has the word test in it, we can go to the animations tab and then select an appropriate animation for this component. For example, let's use a simple animation. Let's use wipe animation. It gives you a preview. Notice whenever you select an animation, it gives you a preview of what that animation would be. Okay, so now let's use another animation for the second element, which is a different text box. Okay, now let's use the wheel animation. Notice the preview. Now what we notice is the animations are numbered. Now what this number signifies is the order on which these animations are executed. Now, so the first animation is the is executed on the word test, and the second animation is executed on the word by JJ. Okay. For example, when we go full screen, notice we have no title. Okay, so we move forward with the keyboard, the word test appears. Okay, next, when we further move forward with the keyboard, the second animation is executed. Now this will help you explaining things as you move along in your presentation. Okay, so you can, for example, grab the attention of the classroom and focus on a single component on your slide, and whenever you move to a different component, that component is animated to move the attention from the previous component to the next component. For example, let's try. For example, here we have no animations applied, so all the components on the slide appear at the same time. Okay, so what we can do is select the component, and then let's choose an animation. Now, the second component, notice the second component contains a list. So whenever you use animations on a list, you select the entire list, like so. I selected the box containing the list, and now the animations are applied to all the components on that list. Okay, notice the order of these animations. Now this is the first one. This is the first one, second one, third one, the fourth, and the fifth. Okay, so for example, let's go full screen. Here we have plan, introduction, definition, demonstration, conclusion. Okay, notice here I can use more than one animation on a single component, but notice the word. I want the sixth animation that I added recently to be the second. What I can do is I can select the animation or the number representing that animation, and then go to the animations tab and move earlier. Okay, once it's taken its rightful order, I can go ahead and preview everything. For example, let's go to the preview plan, and then when I click on my keyboard arrow again, the second animation, which emphasizes the word plan, is executed, and then we move on to the list. Okay, now there are different types of animations. Like I said, when you select a component, when going to the animations tab, you can add an animation, add another animation. For example, here we have an exit animation. Okay, for example, we have entrance, an emphasis, and exit. Let's, for example, let's use another slide. For example, let's go to the home tab. Let's click on new slide, and for example, let's insert an image. Let's go with an online picture. For example, let's use this picture. Okay, so the picture is considered as a component within a slide. Okay, so let's move to the animations. Let's choose an animation. let's use the shape animation. Okay, then let's add another animation. For example, let's emphasize the picture like this. And now let's add an exit animation. Okay, add an animation. Let's select the picture, go to animations, add animation, move on to the exit animations. Let's do a fading animation. Okay, let's see how that looks like, or what that looks like. Slide. Let's go. This is the first animation, the emphasis animation, which is the second animation, and then the third animation where the picture is gone. Okay, so sometimes you don't have to always add an exit animation and an emphasis animation. Okay, so what I do is when for example, there is no space, when there is no space, we add exit animations when the component has served its purpose. Okay, so for example, if I'm naming all these products, notice the space is too constrained. Okay, so I can't do an arrow pointing to this phone telling you what it is, and then another arrow appears next to it. It would be too distracting. Okay, it would be like 20 arrows pointing at 20 different products and telling you what their name is. So what I would do in this situation is I use a single arrow pointing to a product, telling you the information about that product, and then that arrow disappears once you have the information. And another arrow appears, it grabs your attention. It doesn't distract you because there is only one arrow in the screen and containing information or pointing to information about a single product. And once it delivers that information, I no longer have use for that arrow, so I make it disappear. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so for example, these animations, let's for example use another. Let's insert, for example, a shape. We can add text to the shape. Now notice here the animation is only applied to the text. Why? Because I only selected the text and I applied the animation. I didn't select the entire shape. Okay? So, for example, if I want to apply the animation to the shape, now it made them appear at the same time. For example, let's see how or what that looks like. Okay, because they are on the same order. For example, if I want to move this animation second, let's, for example, move this one. like. Notice the word appeared before the shape, okay? Now the order, you can control the order in which the animations appear. Let's try this one. And let's go with the preview at the same time, okay? So we can also delete animations, for example, by going to animations and then choosing none here to remove the animation, or we can simply select the animation and click on delete on the keyboard, okay? So now no animations. If we go to the preview, no animation, okay? This button is also used to activate the slideshow, go full screen, or preview the slide on full screen, okay? So if I, for example, select the shape and then apply the animation to the shape, now the shape, including its content, will be subject to that animation. For example, let's see what that looks like here. Now we can use, for example, exit animations, like I told you. For example, let's try to demonstrate. For example, we have one arrow pointing at something. Let's, for example, change the fill. Let's make it blue so it's well contrasted. Let's copy the arrow. Let's okay, so whenever you're explaining something, for example, let's make this arrow appear first. Let's go to animations. Let's make it float in, pointing to the shape, and then this arrow pointing to the content of the shape. Okay, but first we have to have this arrow disappear. So we go to animations and then add an animation and then go to exit animation. Just click on wipe. Okay, so we want to move this before this animation is executed. So for example, if we do a preview here, we have the shape and then this arrow appears pointing to the shape, then this arrow appears pointing to the content of the shape, and then the arrow disappears. But what I want to do is, for example, we have to click on the exit animation of this arrow and move it forward, earlier, sorry, so that it's executed before this second arrow appears. And then let's, for example, see what that would look like. Here we have this rectangle and then this arrow pointing to this rectangle, to the whole rectangle, and then it disappears, and then the second arrow appears pointing to the content of the rectangle. Okay, so A nicer depiction of that would be, for example, uh, the stuff that I sent to you, for example, to review for this exam. For example, let's go with the Microsoft Word presentation. Microsoft Word course, and then let's, for example, view it. Here we have Microsoft Word by Mohammed Idris Ramash. Then we have the content, an introduction, general stuff, file tab, insert tab, layout tab, references tab. Okay, an introduction. Look, now focus on this, for example. Here we have the arrow appears pointing to an element and explaining what it does. Then it disappears for the other arrow to grab your attention and focusing on another element, explaining what it does. Then it disappears, and then this box to focus your attention here. Then the arrow explaining what the elements inside that box do. Then it disappears. Another one here, and then, for example, if we focus on the content of that slide, you notice that all the arrows are together, okay? And not only that, but some of the words are jumbled together. But the animations or the exit animations fix this by focusing on a single element in the slide at a time, okay? So once the information about the element is delivered, we no longer have any use for that arrow, and then we remove it to focus the student's attention on whatever element we are explaining at that time. Okay? Is it clear?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Okay. So I think we will stop here for this session. Next week's session we will do transitions and transitions on slides, and finally we will finish by speaking on hyperlinks and showing you an example of what they could do. Okay?
But sir, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Concerning the animations, how many animation can we use in just one single item?
So let's test it out here. For example, let's, for example, remove everything. Let's use it on a single shape. And let's use animations, okay? Let's use a split animation, and then let's add an animation, for example. Notice here we have two animations. Let's adding a third animation. For example, let's go with add an animation. Let's see what that would look like, okay? Now the animation is applied two times on the single on a single object. Now, why this is is not preferable. So the preferable way, we can use more than one animation on a single object, but what we have to do, for example, is to use different types of animations, like I used earlier. For example, let's use a single entrance animation. Okay, then we can use another emphasis animation, and then an exit animation if we need one. Okay, so we have more complex animations. We can make new animations. For example, we have motion paths. We have, for example, arcs. Okay, more complex animations. We can use the starting point and then the end point. For example. Okay, so let's see what that would look like. Now you notice what that animation looked like, but for the most part, uh, doing lots of animations on a single component, it is a bit distracting. So you should use animations as a way to grab the attention of the listener, not as a tool to distract them from the content you are trying to present. Okay, so the more preferable way is to use a single type, one animation of each type at the most. Okay, so a single entrance animation. If you need emphasis animation, you use one, and then an exit animation if you've finished with an element and you want another element to take its place. Okay, I hope this answers your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I
Yeah.
think that's all. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So next week, so did the department tell you when you will stop having courses?
No, sir, but we heard that the exams of the second semester will be on the 9th of May, I think.
Okay, okay. So we should be all done by then. And
Yes, I think that we still have the next week and I think we still have 3 weeks, I
okay,
think.
okay, okay. Great. So we're all done for today. I will be uploading this course onto YouTube as usual. And I
Yes,
will send you the link via the Google Classroom I created. Okay?
yes, as usual.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, thank you,
So
sir.
till next week, inshallah. Okay. So.
Thank you, sir.